A vast stretch of the Pacific Ocean swallows ships and planes without leaving a trace. This is the Devil's Sea, a region so infamous it is often called the Pacific Bermuda Triangle. By the end of our journey, you will possess a complete understanding of this maritime mystery, from its ancient dragon legends to the explosive science that might explain it all. We will uncover why government research vessels have vanished and investigate if supernatural forces or raw planetary power are truly to blame. What hidden truth do you believe is waiting beneath these treacherous waves? This treacherous stretch of water is formerly known as the Dragon's Triangle, or Ma no Yumi in Japanese, which translates directly to the Sea of the Devil. Its boundaries form a loose triangle in the Pacific Ocean, with its points generally accepted to be Japan, the Bonin Islands, and the island of Guam. At its heart, roughly south of Tokyo, lies Miyake Island, a sentinel in the center of this enigmatic zone. For centuries, Japanese folklore has painted this region not as a mere nautical hazard, but as a realm of active malevolence. Ancient tales speak of restless dragons lurking in the deep, and of demonic forces that would rise from the abyss to deliberately drag entire ships and their crews to a watery grave. This was not a place of simple bad weather or misfortune. It was a cursed sea, a supernatural prison from which nothing returned. That profound, deep-seated fear established a reputation that has echoed across generations, long before modern ships and planes began to disappear. So what is the true nature of this place that has been feared for so long? And how does its legend compare to the strange events of the modern era? Ancient fears became modern headlines in the 1950s. As the world emerged from the shadow of the Second World War, a new mystery was capturing the global imagination, and its name was the Devil's Sea. The phenomenon found its most influential champion in an author named Charles Berlitz. Through his best-selling books, Berlitz masterfully wove together tales of vanished ships and aircraft, drawing direct and chilling parallels to the already infamous Bermuda Triangle. He presented the Devil's Sea not as a local superstition, but as a global enigma, a twin vortex of inexplicable doom located on the opposite side of the planet. This framing catapulted the legend into international consciousness, but it was a series of very real and very tragic disappearances that gave his stories their terrifying weight. Among the most devastating losses was that of the Kaiyo Maru No. 5. This was not some ancient wooden fishing boat, but a modern, government-sponsored research vessel, purpose-built for scientific inquiry. In 1952, the ship and its crew of 31 souls were on a mission to investigate undersea volcanic activity near the island of Maijin. They were there to study the very forces that were thought to make the region so dangerous. Then, without any warning, all communication ceased. The Kaiyo Maru No. 5 had vanished completely, swallowed by the same volatile waters it had been sent to examine. No wreckage was ever found, and no lifeboats were recovered. The total and absolute loss of a vessel sent to demystify the area only served to deepen the mystery, cementing the Devil's Sea's reputation as a place where science itself could fall silent. How could a well-equipped ship simply dissolve while studying the danger? And what does that say about the true nature of the power at work? Here, the story of the Devil's Sea is written in the logs of missing ships, a chilling catalogue of vessels that sailed into oblivion. Long before the Kaiyo Maru tragedy, the region had already established its deadly reputation. In 1928, the Japanese warship Moroto, a powerful coastal defense vessel, was on a routine patrol. It was a clear, calm day, offering no hint of the catastrophe to come. The Moroto reported its position, and then it simply ceased to exist. No storm was recorded, no distress call was ever made. A massive naval search uncovered nothing, not a single piece of flotsam or a single oil slick to mark where the mighty ship and its crew had been. the official inquiry was forced to conclude with the vague and unsatisfying verdict of lost to unknown causes, a phrase that would become hauntingly familiar. The years following the Second World War saw a grim repetition of this pattern, with fishing trawlers becoming frequent victims. These were sturdy, practical boats manned by experienced crews who knew the local waters intimately. Yet, one after another, trawlers like the Kaiyo Maru and the Maru would set out from port and never return. Their disappearances were so complete, so absolute, that it was as if they had been plucked from the surface of the ocean by an invisible hand. In every single case, the seas were reported as calm, the weather fair. No mayday calls were ever logged. The silence from these vessels was as deafening as any explosion. This brings us back to the most infamous case, the Kaiyo Maru No. 5. Its mission was one of science, not superstition, sent to investigate a newly erupted underwater volcano. The vessel was state-of-the-art, its crew comprised of skilled sailors and brilliant geologists. They were there to confront the danger, to measure it and understand it. Then, radio contact was lost. The subsequent search was one of the largest in Japanese maritime history, yet it yielded the same eerie result as all the others, a total absence of evidence. No life rafts, no drifting debris, no bodies. The official explanation pointed to a sudden, catastrophic volcanic eruption, a massive steam explosion that vaporized the ship. Yet for many, this answer feels incomplete. How could an entire research vessel, equipped with the best technology of its time, be caught so completely unaware, leaving behind not a single trace? The consistent lack of any debris or distress signal across all these incidents, from warships to trawlers, points to a force of unimaginable speed and power, a mystery that demands we look deeper than the waves. The ocean was not the only domain of this mystery, as the skies above the Devil's Sea proved to be equally treacherous. Aircraft began to add their own chapters to this growing legend. Pilots reported sudden and severe instrument failure, their compasses spinning wildly and their radios descending into static, even on perfectly clear days. Some planes simply vanished from radar scopes mid-flight, their last known positions plotted over the heart of the triangle. One of the most chilling cases involved a military aircraft on a routine patrol mission. The crew made a final, routine communication, and then they were gone. Despite massive air and sea searches covering thousands of square miles, no wreckage was ever located, no floating debris, no telltale fuel slick. It was as if the plane had been erased from existence the moment it crossed an invisible boundary. This pattern of sudden, silent, and total disappearance did not end with the 20th century. In more recent years, private yachts equipped with modern satellite communication have simply stopped transmitting data while passing through the region. Commercial fishing vessels with crews who regularly update their families have failed to make their scheduled calls. In each modern case, the result is hauntingly familiar: a sudden loss of all contact, followed by a fruitless search that yields absolutely nothing. No life rafts are ever deployed, no emergency beacons are ever activated. This consistent absence of evidence is perhaps the most baffling part of the entire enigma. How can so many vessels and aircraft from different eras and with different technologies all vanish without leaving a single piece of themselves behind? This enduring pattern suggests a force that acts with overwhelming speed and finality, a phenomenon that continues to defy all logical explanation. So how could an entire ship vanish without even sending a distress signal? The answer may lie not in the realm of myth, but deep beneath the waves in the planet's raw geological power. The Devil's Sea sits directly atop one of the most volatile regions on Earth, the Pacific Ring of Fire. This is a massive, horseshoe-shaped belt ringing the Pacific Ocean, defined by constant tectonic movement, frequent earthquakes, and hundreds of active volcanoes. The specific zone encompassing the Dragon's Triangle is part of the Izubonin Mariana Arc System, a complex and unstable boundary where several tectonic plates are colliding and grinding against one another. This geological friction creates an incredibly active and incredibly dangerous undersea landscape. The ocean floor here is littered with submarine volcanoes, some towering as high as mountains, and fissures known as hydrothermal vents that spew superheated, mineral-rich water. This is not a peaceful, silent abyss. It is a dynamic and explosive environment. Imagine a volcano erupting suddenly on the seafloor. The force of such an event is difficult to overstate. It is not just about lava. A violent eruption can unleash a massive cloud of volcanic gas, creating a colossal bubble that rises toward the surface. When this immense pocket of gas reaches the water around a ship's hull, it does something terrifying. It drastically reduces the density of the water. The vessel suddenly no longer has the necessary buoyancy to stay afloat. It would not simply take on water and sink over minutes. It would lose all lift instantly, plunging straight down into the depths in a matter of seconds. This phenomenon offers a chillingly plausible explanation for the complete and sudden disappearances. There would be no time for a radio call, no chance to launch a lifeboat. The ship and everyone on it would be dragged down before anyone could react, swallowed by the ocean as the giant bubble dissipated, leaving behind no trace on the churning surface. But the explosive power of volcanoes is not the only hidden danger sleeping on the ocean floor. Another, even more volatile substance is believed to lie trapped in the sediments beneath the Devil's Sea, methane hydrate. Picture a cage of frozen water molecules, a kind of icy prison that has captured immense quantities of flammable methane gas. These strange, ice-like structures form under the intense pressure and cold temperatures of the deep ocean, locking away a potentially catastrophic force. They remain stable only as long as the conditions are just right, a delicate balance of temperature and pressure. Now imagine a sudden shock to this system, a powerful earthquake rumbling through the seafloor, a common event in the Ring of Fire. This seismic jolt can fracture the solid layers of sediment, destabilizing the methane hydrates in an instant. The result is a catastrophic release. Vast quantities of methane gas, once safely imprisoned, erupt from the seafloor in a colossal, rising plume of bubbles. When this immense bubble plume reaches the surface, it does something extraordinary to the water itself. The sea is suddenly filled with gas, creating a frothing, effervescent layer that is far less dense than normal seawater. A ship sailing into this zone would experience a catastrophic and immediate loss of buoyancy. The water would simply no longer be able to support its weight. The vessel would not slowly take on water, it would lose all lift at once, plunging straight to the bottom in a matter of seconds. This explains the total lack of distress signals and the complete absence of wreckage as the ship is swallowed whole by the bubbling sea. Yet, how could this phenomenon threaten aircraft? The danger does not end at the waterline. As that massive methane plume breaks the surface, it continues rising into the atmosphere. A large enough release could create a localized pocket of air that is dangerously low in oxygen and saturated with combustible methane gas. For a plane flying through this invisible cloud, the consequences could be dire. The sudden change in air density could cause a loss of lift for its wings, while the methane-rich air entering the engines could cause them to sputter and flame out completely. A pilot would have no warning, their instruments likely going haywire as the aircraft stalls and falls from the sky, crashing into the sea and leaving no evidence behind. This single, terrifying geological process could therefore be the unified theory that explains the twin mysteries of the Devil's Sea, claiming both ships and planes with the same silent, explosive force from the deep. Rising from the deep, the ocean itself can become a weapon. Beyond the explosive power of volcanoes and methane, the very atmosphere and water of the Devil's Sea can conspire to create phenomena of terrifying scale and suddenness. One of the most feared of these is the rogue wave. For centuries, sailors' tales of monstrous, solitary walls of water were dismissed as mere myth. Science now confirms these waves are terrifyingly real. A rogue wave is not part of a normal storm system. It is a spontaneous, singular event, a freak of hydrodynamics where multiple wave trains converge, their energies combining to create a vertical wall of water that can tower over 100 feet high. The unique sea conditions of the Pacific, with its complex intersecting currents and powerful storms, provide the perfect breeding ground for such a monster. To a ship, the appearance of a rogue wave is an unimaginable catastrophe. One moment, the sea state is manageable. The next, a sheer cliff of water appears without warning, too close to outrun. The ship is either lifted to a precarious, near-vertical angle before plunging into the trough, or it is struck broadside by a force measured in tons per square meter. A vessel caught in this way would be smashed, capsized, and swallowed by the sea in minutes, far too quickly for a structured distress call. The wreckage would be scattered and sunk almost instantly, leaving behind the same eerie silence that defines the Triangle's legacy. Yet the danger is not confined to the water's surface. The skies above hold their own lethal secret, a phenomenon known as a microburst. Picture a powerful, localized column of sinking air, plunging from a thunderstorm and hitting the ocean surface like an invisible bomb. When this downdraft impacts the water, it explodes outward in all directions with winds that can exceed hurricane force. For a ship, this is not a storm you can see coming. It is a sudden, violent onslaught of wind and waves from a seemingly clear sky, capable of rolling even a large vessel over before the crew fully grasps what is happening. For a low-flying aircraft, a microburst is even more deadly. A pilot might experience a sudden, powerful headwind that increases lift, followed seconds later by a devastating tailwind as the aircraft passes through the column, causing a catastrophic loss of altitude. A plane could be slammed into the ocean with such force that it disintegrates upon impact, its debris scattered and quickly lost to the immense depths. A microburst leaves no lasting signature on the sea, its fury dissipating as quickly as it arrived. This combination of aquatic and atmospheric violence offers a compelling, natural explanation for the swift and evidence-free disappearances that have haunted this region for generations. This unseen force reaches even further, disrupting the very tools we trust to guide us. For decades, reports from the Devil's Sea have included a common and terrifying detail: the sudden and complete failure of compasses. Navigational needles spin uselessly, refusing to find true north. While this sounds like something from a ghost story, the cause may be buried in the geology beneath the waves. Our planet is wrapped in a protective magnetic field, a force that guides compasses everywhere. But this field is not perfectly uniform. In certain places, local magnetic anomalies can create powerful distortions. The seafloor of the Dragon's Triangle is incredibly rich in magnetic minerals like magnetite. Imagine vast, concentrated deposits of these minerals lying on the ocean bottom, acting like hidden, powerful magnets. When a ship or plane passes over them, its sensitive compass can be pulled away from the planet's true magnetic north, pointing instead toward this local geological lure. Furthermore, the intense volcanic and tectonic activity in the region generates tremendous heat and electrical currents, which can also create temporary, localized disruptions in the magnetic field. For a crew in the middle of a vast, featureless ocean, a malfunctioning compass is not just an instrument failure, it is a catastrophic loss of direction. Under a cloudy sky or in the darkness of night, with no visible stars or landmarks, that spinning compass is their only link to a safe course. If it begins to lie, the vessel could unknowingly steer itself directly into the path of a hidden danger. A ship might veer toward a newly erupted volcanic vent, or a plane could fly into the heart of a sudden, violent microburst. By the time the crew realizes their instruments have betrayed them, it could already be too late to correct their course, leading to a tragic end with no one ever understanding the original, invisible cause of their disorientation. So we are left with a choice between ancient legends and explosive science, between dragons and the deep Earth's raw power. Which force do you believe is truly responsible for the silent ships and lost plains of the Devil's Sea flowing like a vast, unseen river through the Pacific? The Kuroshio Current adds a final, decisive layer to this mystery. This is not a gentle stream but a powerful oceanic conveyor belt known to sailors as the Japan Current, and it runs directly through the heart of the Devil's Sea. Moving at speeds that can rival a swiftly walking person, its warm, deep blue waters are a dominant force, shaping weather and marine life for thousands of miles. But this immense current has another, more chilling function in our story. It acts as the world's most efficient and silent crime scene cleaner. Imagine a vessel meeting a sudden, catastrophic end, whether from a volcanic gas bubble, a methane plume, or a rogue wave. The event itself is devastating, but it is the Kuroshio that completes the erasure. Any wreckage that initially remains afloat, any piece of debris, any life raft or fragment of wood, is immediately seized by this powerful, relentless flow. The current sweeps it all northward, scattering it across an immense and empty expanse of ocean. Search parties arriving days or even hours later are confronted with a perfect, unbroken sheet of water. The evidence is already miles away, dispersed and sunk in waters so deep and vast that recovery becomes a mathematical impossibility. This natural process provides the most logical explanation for the eerily clean disappearances that have defined the Dragon's Triangle for centuries. The ocean does not just claim the victims here, it actively hides all traces of the crime, leaving behind only questions and an unnerving silence where a ship or plane used to be. Yet the most unpredictable element in any sea remains the human one. While the forces of geology and weather provide powerful explanations, we cannot ignore the simpler, more tragic possibilities rooted in our own fallibility. The vast, empty expanses of the Pacific have long been a hunting ground for pirates, a threat that has evolved from the wooden galleons of old to the high-speed skiffs of today. A fishing trawler or a private yacht, isolated and vulnerable, could be targeted, its crew met with a terrible fate. To erase all evidence, the assailants would have every reason to scuttle the vessel, sending it and any proof of their crime to the silent depths. Such an act would leave behind the same perfect void, a disappearance just as complete and baffling as any attributed to supernatural forces. Alongside this grim possibility lies the ever-present specter of human error. The Dragon's Triangle is a notoriously difficult place to navigate, with sudden weather shifts and complex swirling currents. A single miscalculation on a paper chart, a misinterpreted radar signal in the dead of night, or a captain's decision to push through a building storm in an effort to meet a deadline could spell disaster. The ships that sailed into these waters decades ago were not always equipped with the resilient designs we take for granted today. A vessel built for calmer coastal waters, encountering a rogue wave or a microburst, could be broken apart in moments, its structural failure too swift for any call for help. Under the immense psychological pressure of a storm or a cascading mechanical failure, even seasoned crews can make fatal mistakes, turning a manageable situation into a catastrophe. The ocean is a fundamentally hostile environment, a place where a single, small error can be amplified with terrifying speed and finality. This does not make the mystery any less profound, but it reminds us that sometimes the most powerful force at work is not a dragon from the deep, but a simple, heartbreaking misjudgment made on the surface. Official records tell a different story from the legend. The Japanese government has never formally designated the Devil's Sea as a paranormal danger zone. While the tragedies of the 1950s prompted serious concern and extensive investigations, the official conclusions were firmly rooted in the tangible dangers of the Pacific. Authorities like the Japan Coast Guard and international maritime organizations have a clear and consistent position. They acknowledge the very real and well-documented perils of the region, but they do not recognize any supernatural forces at work. The losses, while tragic and mysterious, are attributed to the powerful natural phenomena we have already explored. They point to the sudden, violent storms that can materialize with little warning, the proven hazards of undersea volcanic activity, and the relentless ship-scattering power of the Kuroshio Current. This region sits in one of the most geologically active and meteorologically unpredictable areas on the planet. For every vanished vessel in the official logs, there is a plausible, natural explanation grounded in the harsh realities of seafaring in such a volatile environment. The story of a government-declared danger zone appears to be a piece of the myth itself, an embellishment that grew in the retelling, fueled by popular books that prioritized mystery over maritime safety reports. So why does the legend of the Devil's Sea persist with such power when the official explanation seems so complete? Perhaps it is because the human mind struggles to accept that random, natural violence can erase a ship and its entire crew so utterly and so silently. The idea of a cursed sea, a place of active malevolence, can feel more satisfying, or at least more narratively coherent, than the cold, impersonal chaos of a rogue wave or a methane explosion. The legend endures not because the evidence supports it, but because the alternative is a form of terror that is both profound and deeply unsettling. The understanding that the planet itself possesses forces capable of such perfect and silent obliteration. Yet the enduring power of the Devil's Sea legend faced a formidable challenger, one who had already dismantled its Atlantic counterpart. Larry Kush, a meticulous librarian and aviation researcher, applied his rigorous skeptical methodology to these Pacific mysteries. Kush's approach was simple yet revolutionary. He did not start with the assumption of a supernatural force. Instead, he returned to the original sources, poring over old weather reports, naval logs, and insurance records for each famous disappearance. His findings, which had so effectively debunked the Bermuda Triangle, could be applied with equal force to the Dragon's Triangle. He discovered that many vessels listed as vanishing in calm seas had actually sailed directly into the hearts of powerful, documented typhoons. The official reports writers had glossed over were filled with mentions of hurricane-force winds and waves that could easily overwhelm any ship. Other ships hailed as victims of the triangle were revealed to be old, unseaworthy hulks that had sunk hundreds of miles away, their wrecks later discovered and identified, yet still included on sensationalist lists of the lost. The most telling pattern Kush uncovered was one of omission. Popular authors, in their quest for a compelling narrative, consistently left out key facts that provided simple, logical explanations. A ship that disappeared without a trace often had a history of poor maintenance. A captain famed for his experience might have been navigating through a known storm front to meet a tight schedule. The Kaiyo Maru No. 5, for instance, was not simply studying a volcano. It was investigating one that was actively and violently erupting, a fact often downplayed to make its loss seem more inexplicable. The legend of the Devil's Sea, when held up to the harsh light of primary evidence, began to look less like a paranormal puzzle and more like a classic case of myth-making, where ordinary maritime tragedies were stripped of their context and repackaged as supernatural folklore. So if the evidence for a true mystery is so fragile, why does the story of a demon-haunted sea continue to capture our imagination so completely? Both legends share a chillingly familiar pattern of malfunctioning technology. Pilots and sailors in both the Devil's Sea and the Bermuda Triangle have reported the same terrifying phenomenon, a sudden, thick electronic fog that swallows their instruments. Compasses spin uselessly, radios descend into static, and navigational systems fail, creating a profound and disorienting sense of isolation. This shared experience of technological betrayal is a core reason why the two regions are so often spoken of in the same breath, as if they are twin vortices of some unknown energy. Yet, when we look beneath the waves, their fundamental natures diverge dramatically. The danger in the Devil's Sea is loud, violent, and geologically documented. It sits directly atop the Pacific Ring of Fire, a zone of constant earthquakes and active submarine volcanoes. The threat of a sudden, ship-swallowing steam explosion or a cataclysmic methane release is not just theoretical, it is a well-understood hazard of that volatile seascape. In contrast, the Bermuda Triangle lies over a very different kind of ocean floor, the deep and relatively stable abyssal plain of the Atlantic. Its most famous scientific theory involves vast stores of methane hydrates, similar to the Devil's Sea, but the evidence for large-scale, catastrophic releases there is far more speculative. Instead, the Atlantic Triangle is famously associated with the Sargasso Sea, a vast, eerily calm region of floating seaweed, which historically trapped old sailing ships for weeks, fueling tales of ghost vessels and cursed waters. So why did one become a global icon while the other remains a potent regional mystery? The answer lies not in the ocean, but in media and culture. The Bermuda Triangle's legend was supercharged in the 1970s by a perfect storm of best-selling books, magazine covers, and television specials that captured the Western, and particularly American, imagination. Its location near busy shipping lanes and popular flight paths meant its stories reached a massive international audience. The Devil's Sea, while equally deadly, remained largely within the sphere of Japanese maritime law and tragic local headlines. Its stories were told in a different language for a different audience, and without the same global media machine to amplify them into a worldwide phenomenon. This reveals a profound truth about such mysteries. Their power is not always measured by the number of wrecks, but by the reach of the storytellers. For all the scientific theories, the human imagination has always offered more terrifying explanations. Long before sonar mapped the volcanic seafloor, Japanese folklore populated these waters with ancient horrors. The most enduring of these are the dragons, or ryu, believed to be not mere animals but powerful, intelligent, and often malevolent deities of the deep. These were not the treasure-hoarding beasts of Western myth, but colossal serpents capable of summoning storms and whirlpools with a flick of their tails. They were said to guard sunken palaces and treasure, and any ship that strayed into their domain was considered a trespasser to be punished. An entire vessel could be dragged down to a watery court as an offering to these underwater gods. Alongside the dragons sailed another spectral terror, the yumabazu, or sea monk. This entity appears as a monstrous, dark, humanoid figure that rises from the calm sea, its head bald and shining like a giant buoy. Legends say the yumabazu will calmly approach a ship and speak to the crew, only to unleash a sudden, violent tempest that shatters the hull and drowns every soul on board. These stories were not just campfire tales, they were a cultural framework for understanding the ocean's unpredictable and deadly nature. When a fishing boat failed to return, it was easier to blame a deliberate, supernatural attack than to accept the random, indifferent violence of a storm. In our modern era, the dragons and demons have simply shapeshifted into new forms. As the world entered the atomic age, the legends of the Devil's Sea were updated with a science fiction gloss. The new culprits became unidentified flying objects and their aquatic counterparts, unidentified submerged objects, or USO. Theorists propose that the deep trenches of the Pacific, like the nearby Mariana Trench, are not just geological features but perfect hiding places for advanced alien bases. According to this idea, the strange lights and malfunctioning instruments reported by pilots are the result of extraterrestrial technology interfering with our own. The sudden, total disappearances of ships and planes are then explained as abductions. A USO might rise from the depths, envelop a vessel in an energy field, and drag it down to an undersea hangar, or even transport it through an interdimensional portal, accounting for the complete lack of physical evidence. This theory cleverly co-opts the very real mysteries of deep-sea exploration. asking what could possibly live in those lightless, crushing depths that we have not yet discovered. The idea of a non-human intelligence, whether ancient demons or visiting aliens, provides a narrative that feels more intentional and therefore, in a strange way, more comforting than the idea of a random methane bubble. It suggests a reason, however malevolent, for the silence. It transforms the victims from casualties of natural chaos into characters in a cosmic story, a story that continues to draw us into the mystery of the Devil's Sea. But what if the true source of this mystery is not a force of nature, but the ghost of a lost world? For some, the Devil's Sea is more than a geological hazard. It is the graveyard of a forgotten civilization. This theory centers on a legendary land known as Mu, a Pacific equivalent of the more famous Atlantis. The idea first surfaced in the late 19th century through an eccentric writer and adventurer named Augustus Le Plongeon. After studying ancient Mayan ruins, he became convinced he had decoded a story of a colossal continent that had sunk beneath the Pacific Ocean, taking its advanced inhabitants with it. He named this lost world Mu. Decades later, the legend was dramatically expanded and popularized by a British occult writer named James Churchward. He claimed to have learned the full history of Mu from ancient, secret tablets shown to him by Hindu priests in India. According to Churchward, Mu was a vast paradise, the original home of humanity, filled with 60 million people who possessed technology that rivaled our own. Then, around 12,000 years ago, a series of catastrophic earthquakes and volcanic eruptions tore the continent apart, sending it to the bottom of the sea in a single, terrible day. This grand, tragic narrative found a perfect home in the map of the Pacific, with many believers placing the epicenter of this cataclysm directly within the boundaries of the Dragon's Triangle. So how does a sunken continent explain the disappearances of modern ships and planes? Proponents of this theory suggest two compelling, if speculative, possibilities. The first is that the advanced technology of Mu somehow survived the inundation. They imagine great crystalline power sources or geothermal energy generators, buried but still active on the ocean floor. These ancient machines, perhaps damaged and unstable, could periodically erupt with surges of unknown energy, disrupting magnetic fields, short-circuiting electronics, and creating violent, localized disturbances in the water and air above them. A passing ship or aircraft would simply be caught in the crossfire of a technological ghost, a weapon from a forgotten war still firing after millennia. The second, more mystical idea is that the land itself is cursed by the memory of its own destruction. The sudden, violent death of an entire civilization, the theory goes, left a permanent psychic scar on the region. This area is not just geologically unstable, it is spiritually wounded, a place where the boundary between our world and a past tragedy is unnaturally thin. The strange phenomena and disappearances are seen as echoes of that ancient cataclysm, a recurring pattern of violence that the land itself remembers and repeats. This theory connects the modern mystery to a far deeper, older human story, offering a reason for the danger that is rooted not in random geology, but in a profound historical loss. It transforms the Dragon's Triangle from a simple danger zone into a haunted, sacred space, a monument to a world we can no longer see. Our minds are powerful engines for finding patterns, even where none truly exist. This fundamental trait of human psychology is the invisible current that keeps the legend of the Devil's Sea afloat. We are drawn to mystery, and once we suspect a pattern of danger, our brains begin to actively search for evidence to support it. This is the essence of confirmation bias. Think of the thousands of ships and planes that pass through the Dragon's Triangle every single year without incident. Their safe, routine journeys are never reported, never turned into best-selling books. They are the silent, forgotten data points. But when a single vessel vanishes, our minds latch onto that one tragic event, connecting it to every other disappearance we have ever heard about. We remember the hits and ignore the misses, weaving a tapestry of mystery from a few scattered threads while ignoring the vast, blank fabric of normalcy. The legend itself then primes the pump for more stories through the power of suggestion. A sailor who has grown up hearing tales of demon dragons and electronic fog enters the region already on high alert. When his compass needle wobbles slightly, a normal occurrence caused by the ship's own metal or solar activity, he immediately recalls the legends. His heart pounds a little faster. He interprets a routine instrument fluctuation as a supernatural event. When he returns to port, he shares his story, not as a tale of a minor technical glitch, but as a personal brush with the Triangle's infamous curse. His anecdote, now stripped of its mundane context, becomes another piece of evidence in the legend's arsenal, repeated and amplified until it feels like undeniable proof. The myth feeds on these misinterpretations, growing stronger with every nervous glance at a flickering dial or every story told over a drink. The real mystery, then, may not lie at the bottom of the Pacific, but within the architecture of our own thoughts, constantly shaping the chaotic and unpredictable sea into the face of a dragon. For every ship lost to the Devil's Sea, a handful of sailors have stared into the abyss and returned. Their stories offer a rare, first-hand glimpse into the strange forces at work in this region, transforming abstract theories into chilling personal encounters. One seasoned Japanese fishing captain reported a journey that began like any other, until a thick, pale fog materialized around his vessel in moments despite a clear weather forecast. This was no ordinary mist, he insisted. It seemed to swallow sound itself, creating an unnatural, oppressive silence broken only by the frantic spinning of his magnetic compass. The needle danced in circles, refusing to settle as his radio dissolved into a hiss of static. For 2 terrifying hours, he navigated blind, guided only by a gut feeling until the fog vanished as suddenly as it appeared, leaving a calm, sunlit sea behind. Was this a simple, dense sea fog that coincidentally disrupted his instruments, or something more? Science tells us that certain volcanic emissions over the ocean can indeed create localized, acidic hazes that interfere with radio waves and create electrostatic charges capable of confusing unshielded compasses. The captain's experience aligns perfectly with the geological reality lurking beneath his hull. Then there are the lights. A pilot flying a nighttime cargo route south of Tokyo once reported a series of brilliant, greenish-blue phosphorescent orbs moving in a perfect formation below his aircraft deep within the ocean. They pulsed with an eerie, rhythmic light before vanishing into the blackness. He was a rational man, trained to identify ships, flares, and natural bioluminescence, but he swore this was unlike anything he had ever seen. Could this have been a massive school of bioluminescent organisms stirred up by a seismic event on the seafloor, their collective glow distorted by the water's surface? Or perhaps it was the result of piezoelectricity, where the immense pressure and grinding of tectonic rocks creates dramatic electrical discharges, even producing light. These survivor accounts do not necessarily prove the supernatural, but they do highlight the extreme and bizarre natural phenomena that can occur here. They remind us that the true power of the Devil's Sea may not be in creating monsters, but in generating conditions so alien and disorienting that they feel monstrous to those who experience them. These witnesses faced not a dragon, but the planet's own raw, bewildering power, and their testimonies force us to ask whether that distinction even matters when you are lost on a silent, fog-shrouded sea. The fog of ancient superstition is finally lifting, not because the ocean has grown any less powerful, but because our vision has grown so much sharper. Modern technology is systematically demystifying the Devil's Sea, peeling back the layers of legend to reveal the hard, geological truths beneath. Where sailors once relied on folklore and a spinning compass needle, we now have a constant, silent vigil from space. Satellite networks monitor the sea's surface with an unblinking eye, tracking the formation of sudden, violent storms and identifying the unique sea state signatures of colossal rogue waves in real time. This same orbital view keeps a close watch on volcanic activity, detecting the subtle swelling of undersea mountains and the heat signatures of eruptions long before they can pose a threat to shipping lanes. This is not a guess, it is a global early warning system. Beneath the waves, the picture becomes even clearer. Advanced sonar mapping using multi-beam and side scan systems has transformed our understanding of the seafloor. We are no longer navigating a blank, terrifying chart marked only by the words "Here be dragons." We now possess incredibly detailed, three-dimensional maps of this underwater landscape, revealing the sheer density of its submarine volcanoes, its deep fissures, and the vast, unstable slopes of methane hydrate deposits. We can see the very terrain that generates these catastrophic forces, allowing us to identify the most hazardous zones with a precision our ancestors could never have dreamed of. And when trouble does strike, the outcome is radically different. The haunting silence that defined so many disappearances has been broken by a global chorus of digital communication. Modern vessels are equipped with automated identification systems that constantly broadcast their position, course, and speed. Emergency position indicating radio beacons are designed to activate automatically upon immersion, sending a distress signal with their exact coordinates to a worldwide satellite search and rescue network. A ship in distress today does not simply vanish into a void. It sends out a digital cry for help that can be pinpointed within meters, triggering a coordinated international response within hours. The mystery of the Devil's Sea is fading, not because the area has become safe, but because we have finally learned to listen to its true voice. We no longer need to blame dragons for a tragedy when our satellites can show us the typhoon. Our sonar can map the erupting volcano, and our radios can lead rescuers directly to a lifeboat. The ocean's power remains absolute, but our understanding has finally begun to match its scale. The legend of the Devil's Sea has long escaped the confines of maritime logs, finding a vibrant and exaggerated life in popular culture. Japanese media, in particular, has embraced the Dragon's Triangle as a setting for profound and often terrifying stories. The iconic anime film Ghost in the Shell features a pivotal sequence set over the calm, deceptive waters of the Devil's Sea, where a mysterious entity known as the Puppet Master is discovered. This is no random choice. The location immediately signals to the audience that they are entering a zone where the normal rules of reality do not apply, a place where a non-human intelligence can manifest. Countless manga and video games use the triangle as a ready-made dungeon, a cursed ocean area filled with spectral ships, ancient leviathans, and gateways to other dimensions. These stories take the kernel of the original folklore, the dragons and the Yumabazu, and recast them for a modern audience, transforming geological hazards into conscious, malevolent antagonists. Western media, while less frequent in its visits, often packages the Devil's Sea in sensational documentaries and pulp adventure novels. These portrayals typically present the region as the Pacific's answer to the Bermuda Triangle, a place where the laws of physics break down and alien abductions are a constant threat. The common thread in all these fictional accounts is the amplification of the supernatural. A simple compass malfunction becomes evidence of a dimensional rift. A missing research vessel is the victim of a time warp, and every rogue wave hides a monstrous intent. This creative reinterpretation does more than just entertain. It actively reinforces the myth for each new generation. When millions of people experience the Devil's Sea through a gripping anime or a thrilling video game, the legend becomes more real in their minds than any scientific debunking could ever be. The terrifying power of these stories ensures that the Dragon's Triangle remains in our collective imagination, a place of active and intelligent danger, forever waiting beneath the waves for its next victim. The same waters that fuel legends of vanishing ships are now one of the planet's busiest maritime highways. A constant parade of colossal container ships, oil tankers, and freighters cuts directly through the heart of the Dragon's Triangle every single day. Their holds are filled with the lifeblood of global commerce, from electronics and automobiles to fuel and food, all moving between the economic powerhouses of Asia and the markets of North America. Far from being a deserted zone of supernatural dread, this is a vibrant, essential artery of our modern world. Alongside this commercial traffic, the region remains one of the most productive fishing grounds in the Pacific. Thousands of fishing vessels, from small local boats to massive industrial factory ships, work these waters, harvesting tuna, squid, and countless other species to feed millions. The sheer volume of this safe, routine transit is the most powerful argument against the idea of a cursed sea. For every one vessel lost under mysterious circumstances decades ago, tens of thousands now pass through without incident, their journeys tracked by satellite and logged in port authorities' databases. The real, measurable danger they face has nothing to do with dragons or alien bases. It is the slow, creeping threat of environmental collapse. These fertile waters are increasingly choked with plastic pollution and contaminated by industrial runoff, while rising sea temperatures and ocean acidification, driven by climate change, are disrupting the delicate marine ecosystems that sustain both the fish and the fishermen. The legendary monsters of the deep have been replaced by a far more insidious and tangible foe, one that threatens not just a single ship, but the entire biological wealth of the region. This sobering reality provides a stark contrast to the sensational legends. We have been so captivated by the mystery of the ships that vanished that we risk missing the larger, quieter tragedy unfolding all around them. The true haunting of the Devil's Sea is not a spectral one, but the very real specter of a damaged ocean, a threat that requires our attention far more than any ghost story. For the fishermen and cargo ship crews who work these waters daily, the Dragon's Triangle is not a supernatural riddle but a workplace demanding constant vigilance. They navigate with a deep, practical respect for the ocean's proven dangers, not its legendary ghosts. Their primary concerns are the very real volcanic vents that pockmark the seafloor, the sudden typhoons that can materialize on a horizon, and the powerful, unpredictable currents that can push a vessel off course in minutes. Modern captains rely on an array of sophisticated tools their predecessors lacked. Satellite-based GPS provides a constant, unshakable position fix, rendering magnetic compass anomalies a minor curiosity rather than a life-threatening crisis. Real-time weather data streams onto bridge monitors, showing the formation of storms hundreds of miles away, allowing them to plot a safe course long before the clouds darken. They consult detailed hydrographic charts that map the known submarine volcanoes and unstable slopes, treating them as permanent navigational hazards to be given a wide berth. The key to their safety lies in this proactive, technology-aided awareness. A seasoned captain will tell you that the sea here demands you listen to its warnings. A sudden drop in barometric pressure, an unexpected shift in water temperature, or a distant plume of steam on the horizon are all signs to be heeded immediately. These mariners do not fear an umabazu rising from the deep. They prepare for the microburst that can hit with the force of a bomb blast or the rogue wave that can appear from an otherwise manageable sea. Their stories are not of cursed voyages, but of journeys where careful planning, modern instrumentation, and a healthy fear of nature's raw power ensured a safe return. This practical perspective reveals the ultimate truth of the Devil's Sea. The greatest danger was never mythical monsters, but a simple lack of information. For today's sailors, equipped with the eyes of satellites and the ears of a global communication network, the dragon has been tamed into data, and the demonic fog has lifted to reveal a map. Science can explain the sinking of a ship, but it cannot silence the story. The enduring power of the Devil's Sea lies in a fundamental human need, a deep-seated craving for the unknown that logic alone cannot satisfy. We live in an age of satellites and smartphones where every corner of the globe seems digitized, mapped, and accessible with a few taps on a screen. This constant connectivity offers incredible convenience, yet it can also make the world feel smaller, tamer, and strangely predictable. In such a meticulously documented reality, a place like the Dragon's Triangle stands as a defiant anomaly. It is a psychological frontier, a blank space on our mental maps where the normal rules do not seem to apply. This is not about rejecting science, but about embracing a deeper, more romantic truth. Our imagination requires wilderness, both physical and metaphorical. The legend of the Devil's Sea provides that wilderness. It offers a narrative that is far more compelling than a simple methane release. A gas bubble is a random act of geological violence. A dragon guarding a sunken palace is a story. A rogue wave is a terrifying force of physics. A vengeful sea demon is a character with motive and intent. We are wired for narrative, and our minds will instinctively choose the epic tale over the impersonal accident every single time. This is why the legend persists with such vitality. It answers a profound emotional need for a world that still holds grand, unsolved secrets. It reassures us that mystery itself has not been entirely extinguished by data, and that our capacity for wonder remains one of our most powerful guides, capable of leading us back to the edge of the map again and again to peer into the mist. We stand at the edge of the map, looking out over a sea of possibilities. We have journeyed from ancient dragon legends to the explosive science of methane hydrates and volcanic fury. We have seen how the relentless Kuroshio Current can erase all evidence of a tragedy, and how the human mind, craving narrative, can weave these threads into a tapestry of supernatural terror. The most profound discovery is not a single answer, but the realization that the truth is a mosaic. It is the violent geology of the Ring of Fire meeting the sudden fury of a rogue wave. It is the fallibility of human navigation amplified by the power of a story repeated for generations. The Devil's Sea is not a simple puzzle with one missing piece. It is a complex web where nature's raw power and our own need for mystery become permanently intertwined. The enduring legend forces us to ask what we are truly afraid of: the ocean's impersonal violence, or the idea that our understanding of the world still has frontiers. So, what do you believe lies at the heart of the Devil's Sea? Ancient dragons, explosive geology, or simply the immense, unpredictable power of the ocean itself? Let us know your theories in the comments below. If this journey into the unknown captivated you, be sure to like, subscribe, and join us as we explore more historical mysteries hiding in the shadows of our world.